So my moment of truth did not come all at once. In 2010, I had the chance to be considered for promotion from my job as Director of Policy Planning at the U.S. State Department. This was my moment to lean in, to push myself forward for what are really only a handful of the very top foreign policy jobs. And I had just finished a big 18-month project for Secretary Clinton successfully, and I knew I could handle a bigger job. The woman I thought I was would have said yes. But I had been commuting for 2 years between Washington and Princeton, New Jersey, where my husband and my 2 teenage sons lived, and it was not going well. I tried on the idea of eking out another 2 years in Washington, or maybe uprooting my sons from their school and my husband from his work and asking them to join me. But deep down, I knew that the right decision was to go home, even if I didn't fully recognize the woman who was making that choice. That was a decision based on love and responsibility. I couldn't keep watching my oldest son make bad choices without being able to be there for him when and if he needed me. But the real change came more gradually. Over the next year, while my family was righting itself, I started to realize that even if I could go back into government, I didn't want to. I didn't want to miss the last 5 years that my sons were at home. I finally allowed myself to accept what was really most important to me, not what I was conditioned to want, or maybe what I conditioned myself to want. And that decision led to a reassessment of the feminist narrative that I grew up with and have always championed. I am still completely committed to the cause of male-female equality. But let's think about what that equality really means and how best to achieve it. I always accepted the idea that the most respected and powerful people in our society are men at the top of their careers, so that the measure of male-female equality ought to be how many women are in those positions. Prime ministers, presidents, CEOs, directors, managers, Nobel laureates, leaders. I still think we should do everything we possibly can to achieve that goal. But that's only half of real equality. And I now think we're never going to get there unless we recognize the other half. I suggest that real equality, full equality, does not just mean valuing women on male terms. It means creating a much wider range of equally respected choices for women and for men. And to get there, we have to change our workplaces, our policies, and our culture. In the workplace, real equality means valuing family just as much as work, and understanding that the two reinforce each other. In policy terms, real equality means recognizing that the work that women have traditionally done is just as important as the work that men have traditionally done, no matter who does it. Think about it. Breadwinning and caregiving are equally necessary for human survival. At least if we get beyond a barter economy, somebody has to earn an income, and someone else has to convert that income to care and sustenance for loved ones. Now, most of you, when you hear me talk about breadwinning and caregiving, instinctively translate those categories into men's work and women's work. But consider a same-sex couple. Should one of them stop working or reduce hours to be home? Or should they both change their practices so that they can have much more flexible schedules? And what criteria should they use to make that decision? Is it who makes the most money? Or who is most committed to her career? Or who has the most flexible boss? The same-sex perspective helps us see that juggling work and family are not women's problems. They're family problems. Millions of men and women have to be both breadwinners and caregivers just to earn the income they need. And many of those workers are scrambling. They're patching together care arrangements that are inadequate and often actually unsafe. We're not going to get equally valued choices unless we change our culture. And the kind of cultural change required means re-socializing men. Increasingly in developed countries, women are socialized to believe that our place is no longer only in the home. But men are actually still where they always were. Men are still socialized to believe that they have to be breadwinners, that to derive their self-worth from how high they can climb over other men on a career ladder. And as many women hold that view as men do, we know that lots of women still judge the attractiveness of a man based in large part on how successful he is in his career. A woman can drop out of the workforce and still be an attractive partner. For a man, that's a risky proposition. So as parents and partners, we should be socializing our sons and our husbands to be whatever they want to be, either caregivers or breadwinners. We should be socializing them to make caregiving cool for guys. I was raised to believe that championing women's rights meant doing everything we could to get women to the top. And I still hope that I live long enough to see men and women equally represented at all levels of the workforce. But I've come to believe that we have to value family every bit as much as we value work, and that we should entertain the idea that doing right by those we love will make all of us better at everything we do. 30 years ago, Carol Gilligan, wonderful psychologist, studied adolescent girls and identified an ethic of care, an element of human nature every bit as important as the ethic of justice. It turns out that you don't care is just as much a part of who we are as that's not fair. Bill Gates agrees. He argues that the two great forces of human nature are self-interest and caring for others. Let's bring them both together. Let's make the feminist revolution a humanist revolution. As whole human beings, we will be better caregivers and breadwinners. The revolution for human equality can happen. It is happening. It will happen. How far and how fast is up to us. Thank you.